Ladies and gentlemen, delighted to welcome you to the debut edition of Cuik Talk, the new official podcast of Penicuik Athletic Football Club. I'm your host, Dougie Penman, and I'm delighted to be joined by Penicuik first team manager Tony Begg. Tony, how are you?
I'm well, Dougie. I'm well. How are you? Are you coping all right with lockdown?
I'm fine. I'm still working away, so that's keeping me going. But how are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. It was strange to start with, the first couple of weeks. But as time's gone on, I suppose you get used to it. But I think everybody's just desperate to try and get back to some kind of normality now. I think we're all going a wee bit stir crazy. So in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll start to see some of the restrictions getting lifted. But no, it's been a very strange experience. But the most important thing is the health of people. So that is clearly the most important thing. So whatever it is that we need to do to try and keep people fit and healthy, then that's quite clearly the right thing to do.
And I know the last few weeks we've been involved in the quizzes with the players, and they've been a lot of fun. But how's the morale been with the squad since all this has started?
Well, the boys have been great. I mean, they're frustrated, as you would expect. I think everybody who's used to physical exercise, regardless of what sport it is, of course you're going to be frustrated, especially with us. We are team sport. There's obviously a camaraderie and a team spirit, and you're interacting with other people, and the laughs and the banter and all that kind of stuff. But I have to say that the lads have been absolutely terrific. We've obviously still got the WhatsApp groups and what have you, and guys are out there, and I think most of them would say they're probably the fittest they've ever been. So they're trying to look on the positive side and grasp it as an opportunity. So yeah, it's no ideal circumstances at all, but I really can't fault their efforts and the fact that they've embraced the circumstances that they're in, and the physical activity and the runs that they're doing and the intensity stuff that they're doing is absolutely different class. And I think some of them are probably the fittest they've ever been, certainly without a ball, in terms of fitness. And we're doing our bit. I'm keeping in touch with them individually on a one-to-one basis, making sure everybody's okay, just checking in if they need anything, and they're doing their best to keep the banter going on their WhatsApp chats as well. So no, I think all in all, given the circumstances, they're doing really well through it, and it's a credit to them.
Good to hear it. So I know for a fact, having watched Twitter as well, I've seen Grinchy out doing his runs. He's been quite hanging with it, doing his challenges, and they know
some of them are posting it on Twitter and Facebook. Others are putting it on the group chat. Others are just using apps and sharing that for time to time, and it's like it's quite competitive, doesn't it? And I think the most important thing for them is they're trying to beat their own personal bests. But when you put it out there on social media, then it's an incentive for other people as well. So you can imagine there's a wee bit of banter flying about as well with the boys and the results that they've had in their runs or whatever it is that they're doing. But listen, it's all good natured, and I have to say they're a great bunch to work with, and we all just can't wait to get back when the time's right. When the time's right and the government and the SFA tell us that it's safe to do so, then we're all just desperate to get back and get a kick of a ball.
Glad to hear it. Right, so we'll get to the meaty why we're here. It's a season review, looking back at your first season as co-manager, then first team manager by yourself. We'll go back to last pre-season, and obviously what were your thoughts coming into a revamped Premier League?
So it's funny because I thought firstly that the East of Scotland League handled the influx of the teams through the juniors really, really well, and I thought the three conferences that they did the season before was the right thing, the right fair thing to do based on where people had finished previously and the different leagues that they were in. When you get past that, and it was the top five for each conference that go into the new Premier League, plus Whitehill, I think, came down for the Lowland League. Ultimately, it was effectively more or less what was the Junior Super League previously. The sort of 15 strongest junior sides that had moved over, plus, as I say, Whitehill. So we knew, in all but name, it was a Super League that we were going into. So there was no doubt in the quality of the teams that were in that league, and the size of the clubs that were there, and the budgets that teams have, and the supports that they have, and the interest that it generates. And so it was a season that we were really looking forward to and really relishing, because in that league in particular, every week's a proper game, and that was something that we were really looking forward to for the season. It's just passed. So spirits were high, and it was all systems go this time last year, looking to the new season.
And obviously, pre-season last year we took on Kelty in the Kelty Hearts tournament, played Whitburn and Tynecastle and Vale, sides like that. Just how did that set us up for the season?
So, it was interesting because last summer I was writing it down today, just trying to think back, and I think we had 6 or 7 new signings coming into the squad last year. I think we had Kevin Swain came in, Liam O'Donnell, we brought Andy Forbes back for Berwick, we signed Kieran Watson, Tansy, Sean Stewart, Joe Viola. So there's 6 or 7 new additions that we had to the squad. So that's quite a big turnover as well. When you consider that, we'd done really well the year before to win the conference, and we were whatever it was, 6 or 7 minutes away, in the playoffs. So that that was relatively successful season. So it was important last pre-season that the main thing we tried to do was trying to get everybody integrated as quickly as we possibly could, try and get our philosophy and our style of play over. And we were pleased with how pre-season had went. We played, it was June when we played our first game against East Kilbride away. We'd only had a week's training. The opportunity came up to play East Kilbride, so we were delighted to take that. And then, as you say, Tynecastle, we played Airdrie away as well. And then the Kelty tournament, so a game on the Saturday, game on the Sunday. That was a real tester for us for 2 games in 2 days. I think we played well in the Genefield game on the Saturday, and I think it was a Kelty on the Sunday, and it was probably just 2 games in 2 days was just a wee bit too much for us. But I think in terms of preparation, it was a really good, enjoyable pre-season for us, and certainly I think we got what we wanted out of it. We managed to integrate the ball for the first session, and I think the players enjoyed the pre-season last year, and I know that we did as a staff, and we were quite happy with how it went.
So we came off a strong pre-season, and we've then had a disappointment in a damp squib as our opening game against Whitehall Welfare was waterlogged. Just what were your thoughts when that's happening?
Unbelievable, eh? So like, I think it was the last Saturday in July. I think we scheduled to be a game away, and who's ever heard of the first game of the season in July being called off for a waterlogged pitch? But I think all the games were off across that weekend. It was just incredible freak weather that we had. And to be fair, it was a really wet season last year. Right through the winter was really wet as well. And I know we'll come on to that later. The Stenhouse-Muir game ended up being postponed, waterlogged. The amount of rain that we had last summer going into the winter was incredible. But to have a fall, you just didn't expect a false start due to the weather, certainly in July. But thankfully we didn't have, if I remember rightly, our next game was a midweek game against, I think it was Bar at home. So we only had a couple of days, 2 or 3 days to wait until the midweek, and then we could get up and running against Dunbar. But what a strange start to have games called off for the weather in July, that's for sure. People talk about summer football, and I'm all for summer football myself. I think it would be a better experience for everybody all round in the summer. But there you go, we're practically starting games in the summer and they're called off. So there you go.
You mentioned Dunbar. We beat Dunbar, then Blackburn, and then it was on to the first prelim round of the Scottish Cup. Just how proud were yourself and Kevin to take us in there?
We had a decent start, as you say. Dunbar we won, Blackburn we won, and then into East Houses in the Scottish Cup. Obviously, again, we said it before, full credit to the club for having the foresight to move into the East of Scotland League and go and get a licence, and the expense that took, and the hard work and the effort, especially when you're working to a deadline for the SFA. And I remember the club were working right through the winter, and it was snowing, and it was icy, and the porta cabins are getting delivered for referees' changing rooms and toilets, and you're trying to plumb them up, but it's, pipes are freezing, and people are just working round the clock to try and meet that February, quite rightly meet that February deadline that the SFA had set in order to get the licence. And it was a huge effort that ultimately got us to that East Houses first preliminary round through there. And again, it was a beautiful day, and I think it finished 6-1, didn't it? So it was a great first experience for the Scottish Cup. It was a great crowd there, and everything about it was just really enjoyable, and it was what we'd worked for. So, and now we were delighted with our our first foray into the Scottish Cup with a preliminary round away at Easterseas.
Our form name sort of got a wee bit up and down for a few weeks before we played Whitehill in the second round of the prelims. And how difficult was that game with the weather conditions and with what was at stake for, especially it being a Midlothian derby?
I think that was it. I think, you know, the fact it was a Midlothian derby, I think the fact you add to that obviously Craig Meikle was the manager and he's a former Penicuik player and their manager. I think there's probably half a dozen at least players that are in the Whitehill team that have all played for Penicuik. So, you know, you're going from it being not just a Midlothian derby, but when their team's fully ex-Penicuik players as well, it just adds even more spice to the occasion. And I thought, to be fair, we handled that really well that particular day, because that was a really tough game there. You know, and you get that in the Scottish Cup. Games can go anyway. And when you're drawn against somebody in your own league, and those are the circumstances, then we were just delighted to get through. And to be fair, it was a great goal that we scored. Ultimately finished by Scotty. I think it ended up as the runner-up in the goal of the season, didn't it? If I remember rightly, the fact the move, the 2 step overs, the finish into the top corner, it was a fitting goal for the occasion to get us through to the next round, and what was a real difficult game, as I say, for the reasons I've just outlined there.
What was your thoughts going to Cumbernauld on the back of that form?
So the form was, you're right, it was a wee bit patchy going into the Cumbernauld game. We beat Whitehill, and then the following week we'd drawn with Bo'ness.
Yeah.
And again, you look back at the 3-3 draw with Bo'ness, but we were ahead twice. I think we were ahead 2-0. I didn't think we deserved to be 2-0 up, but we were 2-0 up, and then we were 3-1 up going into the later stages of the game. And ultimately, they've scored a goal in injury time to make it 3-3. And then we went away to Dundonald. If I remember, that's when I'd had my knee up. So I was hobbling about after the double knee up. I think I'd had my knee up on the Friday, and then made my way up to Dundonald on the Saturday on the crutches, and we put in a terrific performance up at Dundonald. In the cup, I think we won 5-2 up there, and we were terrific. And of course, in there and amongst that, there's the Hillybeath. You know, listen, I don't think Hillybeath get the credit they deserve, if I'm being perfectly honest. They ran us really, really close in the conference the year before, you know, and it went to the last day, you know, between Hillybeath and ourselves. That conference went to the last game of the season, where we got the equaliser at home, Musselburgh, to win it. And I really don't think Hillybeath genuinely get the credit they deserve. Bibby done a terrific job there, and he's now at Dundonald, and he's doing a great job there as well, you know. So it's no disgrace at all to lose to Hillybeath. We're just making a habit of it. Something that we need to try and put right next season. Of course we do. But you know, so that was that going into the Cumbernauld game. We'd been to watch Cumbernauld. They played East Kilbride on a Friday night at Cumbernauld. We'd been to see them. We'd had a look at the formation. We thought we'd come up with a plan. We thought how we could beat them. We were just, you know, fortunate on the day that the plan came off, you know, and I think that's the best performance certainly we'd had to that season to date, and probably since we've been in charge. That was probably our most complete performance. You know, some of the goals we scored that day, some of the football. I mean, I remember before we scored, we should have been about 3-0 up. And I remember saying in my interview at the time, you know, you start to wonder when you should be 3-0 up, you know, and you've not taken any of your chances that, you know, we're going to get hit with a sucker punch at the other end and find yourself 1-0 down. But thankfully that we didn't. And I remember it was 3-0 at half time. Is that right? We're going 3-0 at half time. Up at half time and thoroughly deserved, you know. And to run out 5-1 winners away to a team who are mid-table in the league above you was a absolutely outstanding performance by everybody involved that day, and the crowd that day as well. I think that, you know, in terms of travel and support and the romance of the Scottish Cup, if you like, I suppose that was the first real glimpse, if you like, that we really got of the potential that we've got for our support, and the noise that they made that day and the atmosphere that they created in the stadium was terrific. And I vividly remember getting the players and the staff to go over at the end of the game to thank the fans, because I was really conscious throughout the game of the backing that they've given the players, and I think that was not the first time, because that, of course it's not the first time, but that really resonated with me that day, and kind of probably gave us a wee glimpse of what could potentially be coming down the line, depending on what kind of draw we could have got, and obviously we'll come on to that later. So that was Cumbernauld. What a day that was, brilliant.
And you mentioned the draw. We were drawing against Stenhousemuir at home, and I think that sort of took over the club for a few weeks, certainly. And our form was, again, patchy in that spot. Did that be playing?
Well, it was, because if you take the Cumbernauld game, the high of that, our next game I think was Hillybeath. And I've just spoken about Hillybeath, and we lost 2-0 to them. And then we played Camelon, and we got beat by Camelon. So they were kind of and Socky was a midweek game in between, which we went there and we managed to win that game. But things were a wee bit patchy. I'm making excuses if I say that people took their eye off the ball and they start thinking about the Stenhousemuir game. I think you're trying to look for excuses if you start throwing that up for a reason. And I just think in that we run against, for whatever reason, we weren't quite at it. So you're then going into the Stenhousemuir game. As you say, your form's been patchy. But what an exciting draw, for the club to be drawn at home. That was the first game we'd had at home in the Scottish Cup. The other games, East Houses and Cumbernauld had been away from home. So one, it's a home draw, which is really exciting for us. Our first ever home game in the Scottish Cup, and then it's against a league side, and not only a league side, but a big name in terms of league football. Stenhousemuir, and it's not that long ago that you go back into their history. I remember Terry Christie's the manager, and Stenhousemuir are putting Aberdeen out of the Scottish Cup, so they've got their own history in the last 20 years or so. Scottish Cup upset. We went to watch them. Again, it was a Friday night. We went to watch them. They were playing in that Idenbrew Challenge Cup or what have you against things, Waterford, Ireland. Yeah. But again, you go through, you're at Stenhousemuir, there's a big crowd there, there's an atmosphere, there's a young team with drums, and you think, of course this is a big game, we're going to be really up against it here. But again, I think it's important that you try and do your homework on your opponents. And we ended up working for 2 weeks on that, because the first game was postponed, if you remember, for the rain. It was ridiculous. I was just the way timings had worked. I'd been on holiday the week before, and I was coming back on the Friday, and I hope the plane's not delayed and all this kind of nonsense. And then of course I get back. You get up on Saturday morning and we're up to the ground, and it was just like everywhere's flooded. It was just incredible. And you got the biggest game in the potentially the biggest game in the club's history, certainly the biggest game at home. Biggest crowd. It was a sellout, and all the work that had gone into the ticket sales and everything like that, and getting the ground ready and so on and so forth. And then for the game to be off was just so disappointing. But it gave us another week to work with the players. I think that extra week certainly didn't do us any harm. And what a day that was! What a day that was to have. What was it? 1,350, 1,400 people in the ground. We've got the 1,500. 1,500. The marquee for the hospitality and the atmosphere that the home support created was just absolutely it was incredible. And the singing, which is unusual at our level, it's supposed to be singing and what have you, and the hooters are gone, and it was just it was a brilliant day. And of course it was topped off by a 3-0 victory. And again, that's another one a wee bit like Cumbernauld. Before we scored our first goal, I remember at half time, probably should have been at least a couple of goals ahead. And God almighty, we've not taken our chances. You're expecting them to come out and turn the screw a wee bit. But no, we kept the same level of performance. We didn't panic. The important thing, I remember the message at the half time said to the players, the important thing is how you've played and the chances you've created. Keep doing what you're doing, you'll create another chance. And if you take it, then we've got a great chance of going on and winning this game. And I also remember in my interview at the time that it wasn't until the third went in that I felt like I could relax a wee bit. I'm near the end by the time that went in. But again, that was just another glimpse to the potential that this club's got. if you look at the supporters that came out in their numbers that day, say there was 1,500, something like that. The ground's jam-packed, the atmosphere they created, the players feed off that. There's no doubt that the players absolutely fed off that atmosphere that day, and that really did help to spur them on to win that game. And brilliant! What a day! Superb.
You mentioned going into that game knowing what it was, and you mentioned being up for it. Knowing that as well, we had a trip to Firhill waiting us before we went into that, did that sharpen the mind a wee bit more?
Well, that was it. I suppose that's the beauty of the game being postponed, wasn't it? The draw had already been made, and we knew that the winners were getting a trip away to Partick Thistle. So I don't know. I don't know necessarily knowing what the prize is and who you're playing in the next round, whether that's a help or a hindrance. I think you just got to try and do your best to play the game that's in front of you and no worry about what might be or who you might get in the next round, or if we win this, it's Partick Thistle. I think the players did really well just to focus on the fact that the game today in front of you is Stenhousemuir, and there's no point thinking about what the game after that might be. Ultimately you need to take care of the game that's in front of you, and that was the biggest game the vast majority of us had been involved in that day, and that was the most important thing there. But it was interesting that the draw had been made, the game had been postponed, and we knew that was the prize at stake. Certainly, that's true.
And in between, again, we talk about the build-up to these big games. In between Partick, it was almost night and day with high-scoring wins. We beat Crossgates 4-1, Lothian Thistle 5-0, then Newton Grange 5-0. How much confidence did that give us going into the Partick Thistle game?
I definitely did. And I think the confidence and the spring in your step comes for the Stenhousemuir game, and you start to get belief that, you are good players and you are a good side. And I think a result like that, certainly boosts the confidence and kicks you off and running. I also remember, if I'm right, that in that all run there, Tansy scored his first couple of goals for the club against Crossgates. Scored pre-season, obviously, but in terms of competitive games, and then he'd scored 4, I think, against Lithgow, and then he scored against Newton Grange. So, things like that start to materialise and start to happen when the confidence is up. And yeah, we were free scoring, and we weren't conceding many goals either. I think it was only Crossgates that we conceded to in there as well. So we went into the Partick game in a really, really good place. A really good frame of mind and a really good place, and that run certainly helped the confidence going into that game. And then we get to the Partick game. So again, I went to watch them they played Dundee United away on a Tuesday night in the Championship in a league game, and I went up to Tannadice on the Tuesday night again and watched them. And then myself, Kev, Davey, we tried our best to come up with a plan and prepare properly, give the players as much information as we could about them without trying to scare them or put them off. I think it's important that players are prepared with information, not just on what the opposition's strengths are, but what their weaknesses are as well, and where we think that we can cause them problems and hurt them as well. So we did the preparation that we thought was the right thing to do for that game, and then what a day that was, everything about that, the week building up to it, I suppose the press coverage that we got, with the national press, the Red Tops, the Record, the Sun and what have you, the local press with the evening news. I think that the exposure that we got as a club and the build up to that game was really, really good, and I think that's part of why we made the move to become a senior club in the east of Scotland, get a licence and get into the Scottish Cup. There's the hope that you get a tie like that, and you get that level of exposure. So that's great before it. Once you've got that level of exposure and people now know kind of who you are, it's important that you do your best to try and give a good account of yourselves in the game. So I remember vividly, obviously, the bus journey through. We tried to keep everything as normal as possible. There's a temptation to change everything up and go for breakfast and do this, that, and pre-match meals and all that kind of stuff. But we were adamant that we wanted to keep the preparation for the players as normal as we could, if you like. So we treated it like a normal away game, normal meeting time, normal meeting points, normal match day attire, all that kind of stuff. And the first time you probably really notice a difference, other than walking into the stadium, is when you're out on the pitch beforehand, while the guys in the committee are doing a great job getting the strips out and everything in the changing room. We're out on the pitch. You're talking it's the 3 o'clock kickoff, so you're talking it's probably 1:15, something like that, 1:20 when we're out on the pitch. Aye, roughly just walking a bit, and you can hear outside the stadium. You can hear all the Penicuik fans singing, and I think that's when you know that you're in a real special occasion. You know, when you hear your fans outside before the turnstiles have even opened, and they're all singing and making a noise, and there's drums going and horns going, and you know, then you start to see, as the warm-up goes on, you start to see the ground filling up. And we knew there was a good number coming, because obviously the club are keeping us up to date with the tickets that have been sold. But it's not really until you're inside the stadium and you look at the stand and you're finishing the warm-up and you're going in and you look over and it's full, you know, and you've sold your allocation, and there's whatever it is, 1,500 plus people in there singing and dancing and making a noise, and it's just a sea of blue, you know, and then you're back in final preparations, and then you're walking out the tunnel, and the noise that hits you across, and it's the Penicuik fans that you can hear, you know, the noise that they made for the teams coming out was brilliant, and it just all added to the day and added to the occasion. And it's not until after that, and you look back and you see yourself and others have went round the pubs and the buses beforehand, you know, in the morning of the game, and you see how 20 odd coaches leaving Penicuik, and all the pubs are rammed with people, and you know, I felt like, I remember saying it in my post-match interview, it felt like for me the closest I've been to going to a Hampden Cup final. You know,
definitely.
That's just how it felt. You know, I'm a Hibs fan. It felt like going on a supporters bus through to Hampden to watch them. You know, that was the feel in the town. As much as I wasn't there, when you see the videos that people have posted, that, you know, that's the feel the town had about it. And again, I can go back and say that shows the potential that the club and the town together have got for a fan base and a support for the football club. But everything around the game was phenomenal in terms of the club's preparation and how they looked after the players, and then the supporters and the atmosphere that they created. And then you go into the game itself, you know, and I do remember, I said it at the time, you know, I was involved with Lothian and Thistle in a very similar cup run where it culminated in it was a home game at Saughton Enclosure against St Mirren. It's another championship club, albeit St Mirren were top. Jack Ross was the manager, and St Mirren were top of the championship at the time. And we were 7-0 down at half time. So I knew that, you know, these games can go either way. We've all seen shocks. We've seen lower league times. We've seen like Talbot beat Ayr United. So you see that side of it and you know what's possible. But I'd been in the dugout on the other side of it as well, you know, where I think that game ended up 7-1. You know, so you're 7-0 down at half time. You win the second half 1-0. I've always claimed onto that. You know, but no, you're on the end there 7-1 doing. So I know both, you know, I've seen both sides, if you like, this kind of cup tie. And you go 1-0 down without touching the ball inside a minute. You know? And you're thinking, this could very well be one of those days. But I remember vividly saying at the time, stick to the plan, guys. Nothing changes. Just because they've scored a goal, don't change because it's been so early. Because, you know, there's a real temptation there when you go 1-0 down, the plan goes out the window and you just start chasing a goal, and you lose your discipline, you lose your shape, and then it could be, you know, it could be a 7-0 loss. So we were adamant to the players, the message, nothing changes, do what we asked you to do. And I think I remember looking back at the video, and there's a spell in the first half where I think we've kept the ball for, I don't know, 10, 11 passes, and we've kept the ball and we've moved the ball. And I think at that point, that's when the belief came into the players that actually, do you know what, we can do this. You know, we can play this occasion against this team and not be embarrassed. And that's how it proved. Ultimately, that was the only goal in the game. we had an opportunity in the first half to equalise. Very nearly scored again at the end of the game. I remember there was a ball being slung in the box. The goalies went for it. He's almost dropped it. I'm thinking it's dropping to his feet and it's a tap in, but it doesn't. It just drops a yard the other way. The goalie manages to smother it, but that's how tight it was. You know, we've went to a championship team and we're winning corners and pushing for an equaliser in the last minute. We're the team on the ascendancy, looking more likely to score. And I think, you know, given the setback we had inside the first minute, for the players to have reacted the way that they reacted and handled the occasion and handled the game and played the way they did for the rest of the game was to their enormous credit. You know, they'll forever be remembered in Penicuik, I think, for not just that game but the run itself.
You mentioned as well going behind. Just how important was the backing? We had 1,300 fans there. I think more than that. They didn't turn on the players. They kept supporting them, and then you saw the reception they got at full time as well. So important, you know, because they could. The first thing they did was sting, you know. So Partick Thistle have scored. So Penicuik supporters team have went 1-0 down, but it's them that you can hear. It's them that you can hear singing and cheering and encouraging the players and willing them to do well. And I remember saying in my post-match interview, you at the time, you could feel them willing the ball to go in the net. And it would have been absolute pandemonium, I think, if we had managed to score that day. And I think we deserved to score that day. I really do believe we deserved a goal, and I think we deserved a replay. But you know, it wasn't to be. But the fans were magnificent that day. And then, of course, he touched on it there at the end. You know, they all stayed. Players went over at the end. I think we must have been over at the fans for a good 10, 15 minutes after the game before we went into the changing room. At least, you know, they're all piled into the front and everybody's getting pictures taken and they're singing and that. It was great. Really good. What a really special experience, not just for the players, the coaching staff and the committee, but I think a really special occasion for the fans as well, and because they made it a special occasion for the players to be involved in. So I think in the end it was a good day had by all. Just disappointing that we couldn't have got them back to Penicuik Park, because I think that would have been a real humdinger a day if we could have managed that. But it wasn't to be. Tell you what, I was filming in amongst the Partick Thistle fans that day, and they were worried. I'll tell you that. After that, though.
Sorry, go.
No, I'll let you.
I was saying, if you watch Partick Thistle TV, you can hear it. You can hear the grumblings with their supporters. Listen, I suppose if you're a supporter of a championship club or a club the size of Partick Thistle, then you're going to turn up and you're going to expect your team to take 6, 7, 8 goals off their team for our level. But as we all know, that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but it's not always the case. And our job was to frustrate them, and we did that.
Yeah. And after that, the form sort of continued. Was a big challenge going into it. 2 big games straight after that. Broxburn and Trinent, who were up near the top of the table. Just was a challenge going into that and refocusing the minds on the league.
Yeah, do you know, it's an interesting one, because I always feared that we would get some kind of hangover for the Scottish Cup. I always, you know, that was always in my back of my mind. It was always something we were really conscious of trying to avoid if we could, you know. But I suppose if you look through it, most clubs for our kind of level, if you like, if they have a big Scottish Cup run like that, you know, most of them have some kind of hangover, you know, and we were really conscious of that. And I thought if it was going to come, it was probably going to be in the next 2 games, which were Broxburn and Trinent. You know, really two tough games to try and get back to domestic football, if you want to call it that. You know, but I think it probably worked to our advantage that it was Broxburn and Trinent, to be fair. Two big Super League teams of the past, if you like, you know, so they're always big occasions for us, if you like, Broxburn and Trinent in those games. And we done really well. We were really pleased. We done really well win those 2 games. And I remember Broxburn, particularly the weather conditions were horrendous through there. They were absolutely awful. And we done really well to win that. And then the following week we were at home to Trinent. And again, they're a right good side as we've seen all season, and we've done really, really well to win that game as well. I think, if I remember rightly, Trinent started better than us that game. But we managed to kind of deal with that, if you like, and ran out deserved winners in the end. So if there was going to be a hangover, I probably expected that probably in those 2 games. But as it turned out, it probably came after the turn of the year.
The turn of the year, you mentioned that going into 2020. Just before we get into that, what were your sort of the half season at that point, shall we say? What was your thoughts on the season so far?
I thought halfway through the season, we were tucked in. We had games in hand because of the Scottish Cup run, but we were tucked in nicely in the league, and I was, pretty pleased with the league position. Obviously, we're delighted with the Scottish Cup run, but as I said, reasonably content with where we were at the Christmas period. It's always difficult when you're looking at a league table and you're going, right, we've got 4 games in hand. If we win all 4 games in hand, we'll be there or thereabouts. It's never ideal. It's always better to play the games and have the points in the bag. But going into January, if you like, and reasonably content, I would say.
And then going into January in 2020, the new decade, started off, we lost to Gene Field, and then we were game off, then went up to Canoe and we won 1-0. Sort of after the other form, sort of, I'll say patchy might be the better word to use. What was the feeling around the dressing room at that time?
It was a really tough time. If you take the results in isolation, going away to Genefield and losing 1-0 is no a disgrace. Genefield are a really good team, and it's no disgrace at all to go there and lose 1-0. It's no disgrace to lose to Dundonald. And Blackburn had already beat Linlithgow, and I think they beat Bo'ness. So it's no disgrace there either. It's the fact that it's 3 results on the bounce. If that had been games 6 weeks apart, with wins in between, it's probably less noticeable. It's the fact that they were, 3 or 4 games, because we'd drawn with Whitehill was the last game before Christmas. So you're looking at it going, a draw, a defeat. We won away to Canoe in the Cup, but that we lost Sean Stewart in that game where he broke his collarbone at Canoe. So that was a big loss for us, a big price to pay, if you like, for a victory up there. And it was just, it was a difficult period. It's hard to put your finger on what the actual cause of that was, but I think personally, for me and for the players, we've learnt a lot for that spell that we went through, and I think it will stand us in good stead for next season if we can, reflect on that and take those learnings and try and move forward with them. And I think that's the most important thing to learn. You learn more in adversity than you do if you're consistently winning every week. And I think we all learned a lot in that period of time about what it takes to have a level of consistency in the league that we're playing in, and the level of opponent that you're playing every week. I know I said it at the start, we're going into effectively a Super League type standard a team again. And I think, that was probably a harsh lesson for us in those weeks on. And actually, if you aren't quite at this level in this league, then that's the kind of thing that can happen to you.
You mentioned the defeat to Blackburn. That proved to be Kev Milne's last game with us as well. Just can you talk us through the sort of that period and Kev leaving and you becoming the sole manager by yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, listen, it's well documented at the time that Kev fell, and he came out and he gave his, and I said at the time, but I thought it was great credit to Kevin that he came out and gave his reasons as to why he did, and highlighted, mental health, which is a really important topic for people, and I think it takes great bravery to come out and talk about that. And he did it openly and publicly. And he did his interview in the evening news, and I think the exposure that gives is as I say, great credit to Kev. And so therefore, I stepped in as sole manager, if you like. And we had, what did we have? When Lithgow Rose at home was my first game, which was a draw. But I remember thinking at the time with the draw with Lithgow, I just felt like we had a wee bit more about us again. We just looked like we had a wee bit more hunger again in that game. So that gave me kind of signs and glimpses of encouragement that we could kind of turn the tide, if you like, for the 3 or 4 results that we've just spoken about previously there. And then probably just before things finished up there, we had a double header against Tranent, and then a game against Bournemouth, and then obviously that's when this COVID pandemic came along. I suppose the Tranent games had added spice. That Johnny Harvey, obviously former manager at Penicuik, Johnny and I had worked together, get on great. So that added a little bit of spice to the second Tranent game. He'd been appointed for the first one, but I think he'd been on holiday actually when it was just back when he got the job, and so they left it to Davy McGlynn to continue in caretaker charge. So that was the first game. Again, the weather conditions were absolutely horrendous that day. The wind was terrible. I think we were about the only game that was actually on that day, if I remember right. There wasn't many games on it. The wind was horrendous, and all credit to Tranent. They just dealt with the conditions better than we did. We just didn't defend properly, didn't manage the conditions well at all, and we got what we deserved in that game, I think. But that kind of added spice to the Tuesday night cup tie, and that was the beauty of football, as it throws up these things from time to time, and you get beat by a team on a Saturday, you're playing them again on the Tuesday night in a cup, and then obviously that's Johnny's first proper game in charge, so there's even more spice to that. And I said to the players after the game on the Saturday that I didn't think that was a fair reflection on them. I didn't think they'd done themselves justice, and that we were very lucky that 3 days later we had an opportunity to go and put it right, and for them to show me the real potential, if you like, and we did that on the Tuesday, despite a bad start of the game where we lost a goal. We lost a poor goal. We gave the ball away at the edge of our box, and they've scored. And given what had happened on the Saturday, and given what had happened in the previous weeks as well, with the run that we'd been on, it would have been easy for them to crumble again. Right. But they didn't, and they showed their character, I think, in that game, to come back and to win it and put in a really good performance. And I was really, really happy that Tuesday night. I was really, really pleased. It was the happiest I've been football wise for quite a number of weeks, with not so much the performance that we put in, but I just think the mental side of it, the ire and the application and all that kind of stuff that the players showed that day was really good, and gave me real hope for the future. And then that took us to the last game that we ended up having before all this happened. And again, it was Bowness. So you're going Tranent, who were third in the league at the time, I think, and you got Bowness, who are top. And again, I was really, 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 really pleased with the Bowness game. I know it took till extra time to win it, but they're a really, really good side. And I was delighted with how we played that day. And I was really looking forward to the rest of the season. Really looking forward to it. I think those 2 performances had given me real hope that we could get our early season form, if you like, back into the rest of the season. And we still had 13 league games to play. So out of a 30-game season, we still had just under half our league games to play. So there was a real run of games coming up for us. But unfortunately, that just obviously circumstances have meant that football was the last thing on people's minds in the last 10 or 11 weeks, and quite rightly so. So we find ourselves with football in the back burner now for the time being. But it's just given us a hunger and a desire when we do get back to it go and hopefully try and do well again.
And the sort of other big addition to the club this year after the season was and throughout the season was the under-20s coming on board, and just what sort of job has Grant and the team done there, and what support did they give you?
Yeah, so I'm delighted first of all that the club backed us in having an under-20s. It was something that I thought was really important to try to start to build that pathway and have an under-20 team, and I was delighted that the club's committee shared that vision as well. So that was the first thing. Grant was the person that I wanted to take it, and I'd been after Grant for a while to come in to us if we were to have an under-20. So I was delighted to get Grant and Stuart and then Ryan and Dougie. I think the four of them worked really well together, and I think it's a terrific blend for the young players to learn from. I think they've done really well to put a squad together from scratch. So we're starting for nothing. There wasn't an under-17s team in the youth club that were coming up, so we really did. So Grant really did start from scratch. To put a squad together. I said no expectations at all. I'm not interested in winning leagues and cups at under-20. If you so happen to do that, then that's great. That's a byproduct of it. The most important thing is that their philosophy and their ethos is the same as ours, which will go back to is why I identified Grant. I knew Grant, and I knew that it was, and I knew he'd done great work at Whitehill and Hutchie Vale before that. He'd done well to get a squad together. It was a competitive squad, and I think the beauty for me now is when you look back at now at the end of the season, there was 2 or 3 players managed to get into the first team squad and get on the bench, and little bits of minutes here or there. But throughout the season, there was a few of them came and trained with us regularly as a start, as an introduction, and obviously just right at the end there, we gave Gregor Lamb a permanent contract with the first team, moving from the under-20s, and that's really the start of it, if you like. And I do think, I said that at the time, and I do think it's the way ahead for a club like ours. Despite what some people might think, we don't have a huge budget, and we certainly don't have a budget that's anywhere near the top end of the league that we're operating in. So I think it's really important that we do have a vibrant under-20s team that can over time produce players for us. I'm not looking for 5 and 6 players every year for the 20s. That would be unrealistic. I'm delighted that we've got Gregor this year, and there are definitely 1 or 2 others that aren't far away either. There's a couple of them from the 20s that have offered contracts too for next season, with the view to putting them out on loan for next season, just for them to go and show that they can get themselves ready to compete for a place in our first team squad. And again, that's something that I utilised last year with Joe Viola as well. Joe went on loan to Lothian Thistle, had a terrific spell on loan with them, and he comes back for next season as a full member of the first team squad. Now ready, I think, after his loan period, now ready to really push hard for a place in the starting team.
You mentioned next season as well, whenever that might be. Just how are preparations going? I know it's difficult just now when there's no sort of set date, but have you put any plans in place?
I have, yeah. So it is difficult, and I'm conscious that there are so many other things going on in people's lives and in the world just now that I've kind of chosen not to yet make announcements about who have signed or not signed or what have you. The biggest, most important business, I think, for us this close season was trying to keep the group together. There were a number of clubs out there who were interested in a great number of our players, not just 1 or 2s, but 3s, 4s and 5s. And I'm delighted that the vast majority of our squad have decided to stay with Penicuik. There's only 2 players that haven't signed new contracts. So out the squad that you saw last season, there's only 2 that won't be with us, and then everybody else has signed a new contract. So that means unlike last summer, which I said right at the start of this, where we went and signed 7 new players that we have to then go and integrate and get our style of play and philosophy over to, everybody's more or less here and knows how we play and knows the demands that are put on them and what I'm asking them to do and what it's like to play in this league and what's required to play in this league. They're all still here, and I think that's a really, really strong position to be in. And even if you look at the tail end of last season, we signed Mark Tate, the goalkeeper. He's only played 2 games for us because of that. So Tatty's, as far as I'm concerned, he's a new signing. He's only played 2 games. We bought Jamie Devlin for Bonnerig at the tail end of the season. He's only made a couple of appearances as well at the tail end. So he'll be like a new signing after a pre-season under him. Gregor, as I mentioned earlier, has come in, so Gregor's like a new signing, and Joe Viola coming back for loan as well will be like a new signing for us as well. So there's around about 18 players committed and signed contracts in the squad just now, and I'm really pleased with how the squad's shaping up. I think there's terrific experience and good competition for places in the squad. So we all just can't wait to get going, really.
And sort of the other sort of thing I wanted to touch on was just during this period as well, just the fans and the fundraising through Donate a Ticket. And that was a big push we had with that, and then it sort of evolved onto the Cookie bonus ball. But what does it mean to you to see that support we've had from supporters?
You know, I think it's huge. So obviously I touched on earlier the support they gave us, you know, the Stenhouse-Muir game and the Partick Thistle game are obvious ones because of the numbers that were there. But, you know, I think our average home gate last year was terrific, and people turn up and they support us in all kinds of weather, and the players, you know, you can't underestimate, the fans shouldn't underestimate the positive impact and how much the players appreciate their support. And I think to see the money that they raised through the Donate a Ticket scheme in particular was just incredible, absolutely incredible to see the amount of feeling that people have for their local club and for the players that they're willing to put their hand in their pocket and, you know, donate the price of a match ticket for a game that hasn't taken place, because they you know, they understand and see the importance that has to clubs like us. You know, that we're not professional, we didn't have television money and all that kind of stuff. So our supporters and our local sponsors are what keeps the club going. So to see the backing they gave and the Donate a Ticket, and then the bonus ball and the club shop and all that kind of stuff's just, you know, it's absolutely incredible. And, you know, Bafa and myself and all the players, it's just a really big thank you to the supporters for, you know, especially the support they've given us in this period of uncertainty, but also the backing they gave us throughout the season. And I really just hope that they're all safe and well, and can't wait to get back to hopefully a game of football with crowds at Penicuik Park sooner rather than later.
More merrier. So I think that'll do us for the first episode of the Cuik Talk, and just thank you for coming on and kicking us off, and then I'll text you later which player's getting called up for next week.
Next, perfect. That's magic. Thank you very much, Dougie, and thanks to yourself also for the work that you do, filming the games and the social media content that you do and stuff like this. I think, you know, the club through yourself are always very innovative with technology and social media, and again, I think that, you know, clubs at our level to have that level of support's just incredible as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll let you know who's going to be on next week, and let us know what you think of the podcast, and thanks for listening.